Hello, my name is Eric Schuler. I am the research consultant for the College of Information's Information Research and Analysis Lab at the University of North Texas. In this demonstration, we're going to be putting the recommendations of our presenting data in tables and charts research tip into practice. We're going to go over some key features to keep in mind when presenting data. We're also going to be providing a walkthrough on how to create a table and a figure for a manuscript. For this demonstration, I've created a vignette in a heuristic dataset that is completely fictional. Here is the vignette. Over the last semester, I've been developing a quick measure of existential anxiety to assess if there are gender differences and fluctuations over a 3-month time frame. The measure is 5 items long, and I'm interested in assessing convergent validity and internal reliability of this measure at time 1. I also asked additional demographic questions such as age and ethnicity so that I could describe my sample in the manuscript. After giving my measure to a college sample, a sample size of 100, across 3 time points which include baseline, 1 month, and 2 months, I have collected all my data and cleaned and analyzed it. Now I am ready to write up my results and present my data. However, I'm not quite sure what would be the best way to present my data in a manuscript. Now I'm going to open up the mock data set in the output. This is the mock data set. Again, completely fictional though. EA is item 1 of my existential anxiety questionnaire. Here's some of the questions. So we have 5 items. LMS is loss of meaning systems. TA is death anxiety. Then we have time 2 of our measure and time 3 of our measure along with demographics that have been coded, ethnicities that's been coded, age, and then total scores, as well as total score of my measure at time 1, time 2, and time 3. In the output, I've already run all the analyses and have everything I need to start reporting and presenting my data. Here are some of the important points of data that I want to present in my manuscript. First, I want to describe my sample's demographic information, specifically age, gender, and ethnicity at the 3 different time points. Now, luckily, thanks to my dedicated and imaginary research assistants, and more than a bit of luck, there was no attrition during the study, so I'll be able to present all this information for just time 1. Next, I want to present the correlations of my measures with my 2 measures of convergent validity, along with means, standard deviations, and internal reliability for each measure. Finally, I want to visualize the mean scores by gender across each of the 3 time points, probably in a figure. So the first piece of information that I would want to present is my sample's demographic information, specifically age, gender, and ethnicity at the 3 time points. Now for the demographic information, since I had no attrition, I'm going to report the data in text. However, if I had attrition and there were changes in the numbers and frequencies, I may want to consider using a table to reduce redundancy and to improve the readability of the information. So let's scroll through SPSS output and then write up the participants' demographic information in text. So to start off with, I'm going to open my Word document, then my SPSS output open right next to it, and provide some basic information at first. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and change this so it's Times New Roman, 12-point font, 100, and italicize this. Were recruited to study from a large university. Before I continue, I'm just going to go ahead and make this APA formatting, so double-spaced. And I probably could go ahead and add a header. So we're compensated with partial course credit. Okay, now I'm going to add in the demographic information of gender. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up my frequency table. Okay, I'm going to say that 72% of the sample were females. Within age range of, I'm going to scroll down and try to find my age information. Oh, here we go. So it's between 18 to 40 years. The mean was 20.43, and the standard deviation was 4.05. I'm going to go ahead and italicize this. Okay, now let's go ahead and add in information about the ethnicity of our sample. So I'm going to scroll down to the frequency tables for ethnicity, and now I'm going to start entering this information in text. In the study, let's see, I'm going to use percentages for these. 46% of the participants %. 8% as Asian/Pacific. Let's see, next, 18% as Hispanic, and 8% as other. Oops. I'm also going to write down too that there was no attrition between the 3 time points of the study. This is how I would write up the information about the sample. Next, I want to present the correlations of my measure with two measures for convergent validity, along with means, standard deviations, and internal reliability for each measure with the overall sample. For the correlational information and the means, standard deviations, and internal reliability, I would want to consider using a table. Since we will be providing the correlational information as well as descriptive statistics for each of our measures, let's actually go ahead and create a correlational table from scratch. Now, one thing you really don't want to do is you don't want to take your correlational table and directly copy and paste it into the manuscript. It's not going to be in APA format. What I like to do instead is open up Excel and then transpose the information from the output to the spreadsheet. It's easier to do this with a split screen, so we can have SPSS on one side and Excel on the other. To begin, let's add our table headers in Excel. So I'll start with variable, then means and standard deviation. Internal reliability, let's put alpha for now, we're going to add in the symbol later. Then let's add the numbers for each of the three variables. So we're going to do 1, 2, and 3. Okay, good. So I'm going to go ahead and add the line for it. Now let's add the names of our specific measures. Good. Now again, loss of meaning and death anxiety are going to be our two measures of convergent validity. Go ahead and add another line to it. Good. And now what I'm going to do is we're actually going to transpose this information from our descriptives and correlational matrix into Excel. Now I'm going to add in the means and standard deviations for each of our three variables. Good. Now next I'm going to add in the correlations between each of the variables. However, I'm not going to denote whether they were statistically significant or not yet. I'm actually going to do that when we enter this into the manuscript. So the correlation between existential anxiety and loss of meaning was 0.70. Between existential anxiety and death anxiety was 0.65. And then the last one was 0.52. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and highlight this. I'm going to go to Format Cells, change this to a number, into 2 decimal points. Good. Finally, I add in the internal reliability information. So I'm going to scroll up and find the death anxiety, which had an alpha of 0.91. Loss of meaning had a 0.88. And finally, existential anxiety had an internal reliability coefficient of 0.84. Good. We're going to leave off here for video 1, and in video 2 we're going to pick up where we left off and finish creating an APA formatted table, taking the information from Excel and putting it into Word, and then we're also going to spend some time creating a figure as well. Thank you for listening.